Welcome back to Mr. Chills Stories. This is the haunting tale of Emily and Sarah, and the night Brookhaven High was gripped by an otherworldly fear. Prepare yourself for the whispering shadows. Brookhaven High School, located in rural Virginia, was a typical small-town school. The building, with its red brick walls covered in ivy, had seen generations of local students pass through its doors. But one evening in late October, something happened that changed everything, leaving a chilling memory in the minds of everyone who experienced it. It was a normal Friday, marking the end of a long school week. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the school grounds. Inside, the excitement was palpable because the annual Halloween dance was just a few hours away. Students and teachers were busy with final preparations in the gymnasium, decorating and setting up music equipment. Sophomore Emily Carter was one of the students who had stayed late to help. Her friends had already left to get ready for the dance, but Emily had volunteered to finish hanging the last of the streamers. Mr. Harris, the school janitor, was also still in the building, finishing his cleaning rounds. While Emily stood on a ladder in the gym, she suddenly felt a cold breeze, as if a window had been left open. She looked around but saw nothing unusual. Shrugging it off, she continued her work. Moments later, the lights flickered. She paused, holding onto the ladder, feeling a small pang of unease. Just as she was about to climb down, the school's PA system crackled to life. Principal Thompson's voice echoed through the empty hallways. "Attention students and staff, we are now in lockdown. This is not a drill. Please proceed to the nearest classroom and lock the doors. Stay away from windows and await further instructions." Emily's heart raced. A lockdown? At this hour? She quickly climbed down the ladder and headed for the gym door, hoping to find Mr. Harris. As she stepped into the hallway, an eerie silence filled the air. The only sound was the soft hum of the fluorescent lights above. "Mr. Harris," she called out, her voice echoing slightly. There was no response. She walked briskly towards the janitor's closet, but it was empty. The mop bucket and cleaning supplies were there, but Mr. Harris was nowhere to be seen. Panic began to set in. She grabbed her phone and tried to call her mother, but there was no signal. Determined to find safety, Emily headed towards the nearest classroom. She reached for the doorknob, but before she could turn it, she heard something that made her blood run cold. A faint whispering. It was so soft, she thought she might have imagined it. She pressed her ear to the door. "Help me," the whisper came again, faint but unmistakable. Emily's hand trembled as she turned the knob and pushed the door open. The classroom was empty, desks neatly arranged, and nothing seemed out of place. But the whispering continued, growing slightly louder. "Help me." She followed the sound to the back of the room, where a tall bookshelf stood. Behind it, there was a small gap, just wide enough for a person to slip through. Taking a deep breath, Emily peered into the darkness. To her shock, she saw a pair of eyes staring back at her, wide, terrified eyes. It was a girl about her age, huddled in the corner. "Please," the girl whispered, her voice trembling. "You have to help me." Emily pulled the girl out from behind the shelf and locked the classroom door. "What happened?" she asked urgently. The girl, who introduced herself as Sarah, was too scared to speak at first. After a few deep breaths, she explained that she had been staying late for a tutoring session when she heard strange noises. She had hidden behind the bookshelf when the lockdown announcement was made. "I thought I was alone," Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. "But then I heard footsteps, and something else. Like whispering, but it wasn't making any sense." As if on cue, the whispering began again, louder this time. Both girls looked around, trying to locate the source. The air grew colder, and the lights flickered once more. "Did you hear that?" Emily whispered, her eyes wide with fear. Sarah nodded, clutching Emily's arm. "We need to get out of here," she said urgently. "We need to find someone, anyone." They carefully unlocked the door and peeked into the hallway. It was still empty, but the sense of unease was overwhelming. They moved quickly, sticking close to the walls, heading towards the main office. Halfway there, they heard the whispering again, but this time it was different. It wasn't just words, it was a name. Emily. Emily stopped dead in her tracks, her heart pounding in her chest. "Did you hear that?" she asked Sarah, her voice barely a whisper. Sarah nodded, her face pale. "It said your name." Fear gripped them as they continued, moving faster now. They rounded a corner and saw a figure at the end of the hallway. It was Mr. Harris, but something was wrong. He stood motionless, his back to them. "Mr. Harris?" Emily called out tentatively. The janitor slowly turned to face them, his eyes vacant, as if in a trance. He raised a hand and pointed down the hallway, towards the old wing of the school that had been closed off for years. "Leave, now," he said in a monotone voice. The girls didn't need to be told twice. They turned and ran in the opposite direction, heading towards the nearest exit. As they ran, the whispering grew louder, more insistent. They burst through the double doors and into the cool night air, gasping for breath. They didn't stop running until they reached the edge of the school grounds. Only then did they turn to look back at the building, now shrouded in darkness. The whispering had stopped, but the fear lingered. The police arrived shortly after, responding to the lockdown alarm. They searched the school thoroughly but found no intruder and no explanation for the strange occurrences. Mr. Harris was found unconscious in the hallway and later claimed to have no memory of the incident. In the days that followed, rumors spread like wildfire. Some said it was a prank gone wrong, others believed it was something more sinister. But Emily and Sarah knew the truth. They had felt the cold touch of something unexplainable, something that lurked in the shadows of Brookhaven High. The Halloween dance was cancelled, and the school remained closed for a week. When it finally reopened, the old wing was permanently sealed off, and the story of the whispering shadows became a legend, passed down through the years. Emily and Sarah never spoke of that night again, but they would never forget the fear that gripped them, nor the whispers that called out from the darkness. Brookhaven High had returned to normal, but the memory of the lockdown, and the haunting whispers, would stay with them forever. If you enjoyed this story and would like to see more content, please like and subscribe, we really appreciate any little support we get. Apart from that, we hope everyone has a good time and we will see you next time on Mr. Chills Stories.